Didn't you say you were gonna try the OBS filters over Discord?
I completely fucking forgot.
He just like me for real.
The podcast we are about to record has not been approved by the Vatican.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to Faith! And the podcast.
Yes! Hi.
Podcast, the unholy trinity. It is our third episode.
Yes! I'm Alina.
I'm Cole.
And I'm Peter.
Very spooky names. Welcome to the third episode, which is also the spooky episode.
Scary.
It's Halloween. It's time for costumes. It's time for candy. And it's time for spooky games like Faith.
Like Faith.
And covering up murders, but not in this episode.
Alright.
That actually does tie into Faith!
Oh, wow!
Great job staying on topic, everybody. We're doing awesome.
We're doing great. Faith the game. There may be some of you out there who don't know what the fuck we're talking about. So just to fill y'all in a little bit, Faith is a horror game series, a trilogy, if you will, that is based on a trinity even, that is based on visually it's based on like pixel Atari sort of 8-bit vibes, but it also uses the power of I believe it's rotoscoping.
Yeah, the fucking terrifying power of rotoscope animation.
In order to make the spooky bits real spooky, it's a game that basically follows this priest guy, John, that's his name.
John, last name I forget.
John and his explorations into the more demonic side of things like exorcism. I drew
specifically the trinity of games follow John and lay in the second one and lay in the third one another man named Father Garcia as they tackle a demonic cult that has began in Connecticut and is spreading around the America. Called the Cult of the Unspeakable, or the Cult of the Second Death.
Yes.
And they are on a. There is a fully normal human man like you and me.
Yeah.
And is not at all anything else.
No.
Definitely was not born from a face hole or anything.
Definitely not. Why would he be? That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Faith. For those of you who didn't know, if you want any more in-depth stuff, go watch a playthrough or something. This is a podcast. We can't really show you it.
What do you mean? It's not like the game's all that visually intensive. We could redraw it.
It's true.
Don't give me more work, please.
I know. Don't worry. Peter will do the bad drawings of Faith.
Oh, okay.
Your drawings would be too good.
I'd scare our audience.
I don't appreciate the implication that despite Faith being like an 8-bit, my drawings would still be bad.
Well, I'm sorry. They would be.
That game does feature rotoscoping.
You have not practiced art enough to be good at rotoscoping.
That's true.
Neither have I. We could work together, right?
I could probably do it.
At the very least, I could draw Gary.
You could draw Gary.
Could draw Gary.
And even if you can't, Gary loves you.
Gary loves you.
All right.
Gary loves you and is a normal human man.
Yes.
Like you and me.
Yes. So let's do this. Let's do this chapter by chapter.
Oh boy.
Just
Okay.
just so we can narrow in on something. Like, because right now we
There's
just
still-
keep talking about how Gary is a totally normal human being.
Gary wasn't introduced until the second game,
Yeah.
and isn't, I think, even on screen until the third one.
Yeah. So let's talk about chapter 1. Just the chapter 1 of the faith. The spooky faith.
Would love to do a plot synopsis because
Okay.
I'll be short.
I mean, you are the most qualified to do the plot synopsis.
You
I
are.
know my track record, but I'll try and be brief.
Longer. We need content for the extended.
What do you mean? What do you mean track record? Your track record's actually pretty good. Like, if we go back to the Adventure Time episode, you did just go through the entire story of Adventure Time. There's some branching here and there, but it was kind of necessary.
Yeah.
Story of Adventure Time until exceedingly abridged.
Yeah.
10 seasons, man. I didn't even get to talk about Fern, really. That's my favorite.
Well, I have faith. We'll be able to do so one day, but for right now, we must give us a synopsis on the faith.
So Faith
thing.
Chapter 1, previously just called Faith, before there were more than one chapter, follows our protagonist, John, who is a priest. The game begins with him driving his car to a very isolated house somewhere in Connecticut. As very few details are revealed to you. You have to get a lot more extraneous detail by using your crucifix to exorcise things around the premises in order to get various notes and things that explain a little bit more about not just what's going on right now, but also what happened about a year ago that has caused John to have such frequent nightmares about the place. And it's revealed slowly over time that John was previously involved in an exorcism in this same location, that there's a girl named Amy who was possessed by a demon, a very literal demon, and her parents contacted the Catholic Church in order to try an exorcism, which did not work. The demon proved too powerful for the likes of John and the other priest that was there, Father Allred. And Father Allred was ultimately killed by Demon Amy, and John barely managed to escape with his life. And he's been haunted by it ever since, frequently having nightmares. He was in a mental hospital for about a year afterwards. He essentially pleaded to the doctor in charge. They're like, "Hey, I'm totally sane now. I swear."
Listen, Doc, you gotta believe me. I'm not seeing any demons right now. It's not happening.
Allow me to fix that.
You allow me to fix the fact I'm not seeing any demons right now by
let
going
me-
to go see some demons.
Let me go see some demons.
The one of the things that I think is really good about the storytelling of the game is that before the other two chapters, which really do double down on the fact that, like, yeah, the whole demon thing is absolutely real, is that it's very much unclear if the demon things are real or if John is experiencing a series of hallucinations. You straight up don't know. There's a secret boss that you can fight by breaking a mirror towards the end of the game, and you get a certain note there that is the thing that's how you find out he was in the mental hospital for a year afterwards, after the failed exorcism.
I do remember
And
that note.
Yeah, it
And
casts
amongst all of the other notes, and you're just kind of like,
it casts some kind of suspicion on, like, okay, so is all of this real, or is John just like really vividly hallucinating? It's proven by the other two games' existence that yes, all of the events are real, but it doesn't. You could still very much doubt John's sanity because he doubts his sanity.
yeah, he's like, I don't deny this. I am crazy.
He desperately tries to think that he is not crazy, and he isn't. He isn't. At the end of the day, he really does doubt his own sanity a lot of the time. Um, so the entirety of the first game is you exploring the house where the failed exorcism occurred, as with surrounding premises. You encounter a few things on the way. Firstly and foremost, on your way to the house, you're going to encounter this horrific, uh, is a skinny white red-eyed thing that scrabbles about on all fours. His name is Michael. Uh, he does not like you.
It's this horrific creature of unimaginable power. His name is Michael.
Michael wasn't always a demon, or he was a kid. He was also possessed by a demon. Another failed exorcism
John,
that
come
was
on,
not
man.
performed by John.
Oh,
No, this wasn't John's fault.
that wasn't John's fault.
This
But I wanna
Father
blame
Garcia's
John
fault.
for
You find out in the
everything.
second game. You can repel Michael with the crucifix, of course. It's your only means of doing anything for most of the game is holding up your crucifix to things. So you can repel him with the crucifix, but every time you ward him off, he gets faster. So
I did
and
not
he
know
can spawn.
that. Oh
He can
no.
spawn anywhere on any edge of the screen in the woods area at any time. So if you get him to the point where he's really fast and you're just on the edge of the screen, he can just get you instantly unless you're, I don't know, literally God.
Got that frame perfect reflex.
The fucking speedrunner fingers.
I have faith in the Lord.
Name drop.
Wow.
Whoa.
I can't believe we just name dropped Faith like that in our Faith episode. There's a few endings to the game depending on what exactly. You explore the house, you find Amy's still possessed body, and there's a few different endings that you can get. Ending 1 is Murderer, where you have a brief boss fight with Amy, where you repel the demon-infused Amy with the crucifix a bunch of times. You get to the attic, you have continued to repel her with the crucifix, and then she jumps out the window, and while you're leaving the house, you find a gun with a single bullet on the floor.
Yeah.
And you get any one of the 5 endings by choosing to shoot or not shoot certain things. You get one ending by choosing to go and shoot Amy. You leave in your car. You get arrested by the police.
Murderer.
The second ending happens when you go to shoot a random deer.
Oh, I love the deer one.
You shoot the deer, and then you leave in your car, and then you hit a deer with your car, and then you get killed by a bunch of deer in the woods.
Yeah, I think
They fight you.
Yeah, I think that's the only game I've ever seen where it's just like, do you have a fear of deer? Do you want one?
There's another ending, a third one. These aren't in any order after the first. I know ending 1 is Murderer. I forget what the rest of the endings are, except for ending 5 is I think When Faith Endures.
Yeah.
So then there's the deer one, and then there's a random satanic circle you can find in the woods that has a dead fox in it, and you can shoot the corpse of the fox, and then a bunch of Satanists come out of the woods and kill you. So that's interesting.
Would you like
Then-
a fear of Satanists? Would you like one?
Then yes. Then another ending. While you're exploring the woods with the gun, you can find a gray silhouette, which is revealed in the second game to be Father Garcia, who is tailing you, and you can shoot and kill him.
No.
And this gets you a really interesting ending where you leave in your car, and as you're leaving, it reveals Michael in the backseat, and he fucking murders you. The only ending where you do not immediately die or go to jail is the ending where you don't have to fight the secret boss in the mirror. I don't think you break open the mirror by shooting it with the gun.
Mhm.
I don't think you have to fight the secret boss in order to get the ending. Maybe you do. I don't recall. But you just leave. You just leave. You do have to take the gun with you because as you're going to your car at this point, Michael will emerge from the woods and he's apparently too powerful to be repelled by the crucifix right now. Uh, Specifically, I think the second game goes a little bit more in depth with this, and which is like John is actively having a crisis of faith right now, so like he
Mm.
cannot use the crucifix to I guess like its full potential. I
But
suppose
you can always use a shotgun to its full potential.
it's a rifle. It's a rifle in the first game.
Whatever. Is a
It's a
gun.
hunting rifle.
Bullets. Miranda.
So you do have to shoot Michael, and then Michael gets run over by a semi truck, and then you get in your car and leave.
Okay.
And that's the first game.
Okay.
A lot of the terror, as we kind of briefly covered, from in the entirety of the Faith trilogy, does come from the fact that it's rendered in the Atari style of graphics. It's kind of very arcadey. Not even arcadey. Kind of fucking worse than a lot of arcades. Even.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, it's not worse than like arcades. When I say arcades, I of course mean arcades.
The
old ones.
The ancient scripts.
The ones worth being called arcades.
Yeah.
Like Pac-Man.
Yeah. Pac-Man.
Modern arcades are just casinos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Damn it.
A lot of the other parts of the terror do also come from the fact that all of the voices are rendered in this old as fuck text-to-speech engine that was designed for use on the Commodore 64. It is freaky. It does a lot of really good environmental horror. So you are wandering around, there's this faint looping track going in the background, and then at times it will just cut out as you see this vague blob, because everything is a vague blob, move behind a window somewhere. And because everything's rendered in like one fucking color per object, it's you don't know who or what or anything about it.
Yeah.
It's just very good at making you stressed. And of course, this interspersed with like the rotoscoped sections, because you don't know exactly when one will come up. It just makes it even more terrifying. I think one of the best rotoscoped sections in the entire first game are when you first kind of run into Amy in the basement of the house, and she runs into you, and then you get into a rotoscope cutscene where you are. Through John's perspective, you are lying in bed, and she kind of, like the girl in the Ring, clambers over the top of the bed, and then it's real close to you as there's this like droning noise building, and then it just cuts, it stops, and then you get out of the bed.
Oh.
And John just says, "He is here." Yeah, obviously.
Where though?
Exactly. From that point on, periodically in the house, she hunts you. You have to repel her with the crucifix, and then she does this like little ghost copy trick as like 4 duplicates of her surround her, and you have to figure out which one's the real one before she murders your ass.
I personally think that like a big fear factor of the game also is the fact that the only thing keeping you from getting torn apart from these demons is this little stick in your hand.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
That's
It plays on the sense of powerlessness so well. Because all you do have is a crucifix, and John is not fast at walking.
No. There's a demon running at you. Let me just clamber over here.
I'm 63 and I have rickets in my legs.
I gotta line up the stick. Exorcism.
The first game is, I think, it is a stellar experience. But I do think the second delivers a much better horror experience. I think it is much more scary, personally.
That's valid.
If there's not anything anyone would like to say more about the first game.
Trying to think. If there's
I've said my
anything-
piece on the first game. It's also the only one I've played, so I'm going to say even less about the other two.
Before we do continue, I think that there's an element of the Faith games that works really well for me that I don't think works for the two of you,
What?
and that is that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you both were raised irreligious, right?
Correct.
Yes. Atheism.
I
over here.
wasn't.
Oh no.
My upbringing was
Okay, that's not entirely true, but I was mostly raised irreligious.
I was
Yeah.
fully raised irreligious. Yeah.
I was not raised overtly religious. It did not permeate like the entirety of my house all of the time, but there's a notable presence.
Mhm.
And so I think that there is an element of the Faith trilogy that works a lot better on you, if that is the case.
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't help when there's like when the horror game has a somewhat personal connection to your upbringing, because that just makes it all the more spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I suppose we can move on to the second game,
Wow.
if we so desire.
Yeah.
It sounds like we desire.
Yeah, we do.
Awesome.
I'm blanking on the second game, so I need this recap right now.
Yo, that's good.
It's gone. I don't know where it went.
I also completely forgot about the second game. What happens in it until today.
Thank you, Markiplier. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I'm very easily scared. It's worth noting. So, as well.
Shout out to Markiplier, the sponsor of today's video.
Shout out to Markiplier for playing Faith, so I didn't have to play Faith and fucking shit my pants. Faith Chapter 2. At the beginning of Faith Chapter 2, you don't play as John, you play as Father Garcia, who is attempting to exorcise the demon out of Michael from the first game. He does not succeed, and the demon that's possessing Michael, using Michael's body as a vessel, escapes, and then dies in the first game, because that is the canon ending, though. When Faith Endures is the canon ending of the first game. At least that's the one that the other two continue with.
What do you mean they don't do the deer ending as the canon?
Because John dies in the deer
That's
ending.
my favorite ending.
Dies in most of the endings and is imprisoned in the other one, making the second game fundamentally impossible.
Could it be that a deer has disguised themselves as John? This.
Yeah, just like how Lewis and Clark died during their expedition, and prairie dogs stuffed their skin and piloted decaying corpses to the west west coast.
Oh.
This is canon to the history of the world.
Oh.
This is the first time I'm hearing of it.
What?
A very interesting crackpot conspiracy theory.
It existed for as long as I've known about it.
Which is when?
At least 2012.
I can't believe it's been over
Over 10 years.
10 years. The second game is entirely a dream.
Oh.
But it does not feel like the cheap but it was all a dream kind of deal, because it turns out that significant portions of this dream are a little bit prophetic in nature.
I smell a trope.
Yeah, John dreams of the future in the second game, at least elements of the future. The second game has John, after the opening bit with Father Garcia, you switch to John's perspective, and it has him exploring a cemetery and going through it in order to, I presume, vanquish the demons therein. It's not explained why you come to the cemetery, like, even at all. Even the first game has the little opening where it's like, what I'm about to do has not been approved by the Vatican, and like I haven't been here since over a year ago. Uh, the second game doesn't have any of that after the Father Garcia section. The Father Garcia section is very brief. You just go into the basement, you try to exorcise Michael, fail, and you go back upstairs and you see him run out of the building. And that's it. The rest of the game with John has no introduction. You just walk into the graveyard. That is all that occurs, and then when you start playing as him, uh, there's a bit less of substance here without like just getting into the fucking scare detail, which I think is much more prominent here, and I think the reason it's more prominent in the second one is because first of all, there's a lot more big fucking spooky noises, the very Atari noises that are going off they're always like they're a little jarring, especially to modern audiences because.
Yeah.
It's the goddamn Atari.
Yeah, it's these old sound systems that were not that were made just to be made and not made to be like, hyper advanced. It was just like we got it to make a sound. Yep.
Guys, this is huge. It made noise.
And so it's like a lot of the noises that Atari systems made are very jarring and loud.
And so it has more of those, but I think more importantly, it has much more rotoscope sections. And they are all just as jarring as they were the first time. Some of my favorites in this game, I'll briefly go over as cover the events that occur in it. It's a lot more vague of what exactly any kind of plot stuff that's happening because it is all a prophetic dream.
Mhm.
So it's exceedingly vague and laced with symbols all over the place. And I'm not gonna go into all of the symbolism because there's too much, and I can't hold it all in my
The
brain.
symbols! There's so many symbols!
Just like a real religion.
Yes, just like actual faiths. There's a lot of symbols, and I don't understand all of them.
Faith is such a cool game. I wish Christianity was real.
Me too, man.
Man, this faith game is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I wish priests existed.
I want Father Garcia to be real.
You just like it when there are shotguns.
Shut! Shut!
There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Shut. I like him because he's cool. Just because he happens
Is
to
he
also have a
cool?
shotgun does not
Yeah,
mean
is he cool because of the shotgun?
No,
Is
not just
is he he cool because he's also a Spanish man wielding a shotgun?
He's cool because he kicks ass.
Right, and does any of that have to do with the fact that he speaks Spanish and uses a shotgun?
Shut.
You keep avoiding the question.
Because we all know the answer.
Fine. I like shotguns. They're cool. They make priests cooler.
Is that so bad to admit?
No. But it was funny to pretend that it was a problem. Alright.
The second game, you explore this graveyard. You exorcise a bunch of demons from it. There's a tomb near the start called the Save Family Tomb. You'll never guess what happens when you enter the tomb.
Boss fight?
No.
Rotoscope.
Yes, but that's not what I was thinking about.
Oh. So
It's
I'm
called the
technically right.
save family tomb. It saves your game.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. Oh, you enter the save family tomb. There's a mirror at the end, and this is one of my favorite bits of rotoscoping in the game. Is when you go in there and you go up to the mirror and you interact with it, and it shows an image of John, of course, because it's a mirror, but
Yeah.
his reflection moves independently of him and takes a key out of his pocket and holds it up, and he gives this sinister little ass fucking smile. Uh, and it exits the rotoscope. You go around to different parts of the graveyard and you exercise these three demons, each of which are talking about Gary's cult, uh, which does not have a name as of this moment. At least the name is not revealed to you quite yet. But different aspects of Gary's cult, different things that Gary's cults have done, different ways in which they have manipulated people into joining them. A lot of very, very desperate people, many of whom it seems like did not initially actively want to join, but Gary's all people who were already members of the cult did unsolicited favors for them, and then were just like, "You owe me now."
Oh.
So
Join my cult?
yeah,
Yeah?
join my cult. You owe me.
Uh-huh.
You owe me one, bro. Join my
you,
cult.
you owe me one, broski. Join my sick cult, man.
Definitely not going to cut your face open and put babies in there to summon demons. I swear.
Yeah, definitely would never do that. Why would I ever do such a thing? Like, who would do that?
That is, frankly, an insane plot point. That is absolutely real, and I can't believe it.
I can. I'm taking every word you say at face value.
I'll tell you about more when we get to the third game, because it's ridiculous, and I love it. It's very pulpy. Some aspects of these games, which fits with the fact that they're like set in the '80s and they're kind of
Yeah.
very clearly inspired by like Satanic Panic stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So so there are some pulpier elements that do fit. I think the mere existence of the shotgun in the third game is one of the pulpiest aspects of the entire trilogy,
But it's so
and I'm
cool,
so
though.
glad it's there.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. It's just, oh no, my crucifix isn't doing it. Come with me, John. Oh, fuck. Yes, of course I'll come with you. You have a shotgun.
So you exercise these three demons in different parts of the graveyard, and then you go back to the save family tomb, and you look in the mirror again, and John's reflection, which seems to also still be John himself, now takes the key out of his pocket, stabs you in the eye with it.
Ow.
Before he stabs you in the eye, he does give you that smug ass grin again.
Key eye.
And
Key eye.
and yeah, and that you get the key, and then you go to a whole different part of the graveyard where several new things happen. You
Wow.
explore this. Well, I might be getting things misordered in my head. I think you explore a sewer section at this point in the game. No, this is the church. This is the church section.
Yeah,
Uh,
that sounds more right. Yeah, yeah. No, I think the sewer's in the third game. I'm
Bro,
pretty
there
sure.
is a sewer. There is, I think, a sewer in the third game. There is also a sewer in the second game.
The fact that it's all 8-bit is not helping my memory.
You get to a church, you learn about things that happened in this church, which are first of all, there's a local legend about a woman in the church who did some fucked up things. It's not, I don't remember it's exactly elaborated on in this game what exactly the things that she did were, but they're enough to get her to haunt the fucking place.
Oh.
And there's a game that you learn about this like crew of I think they're paranormal investigators. They go around in the place and they're investigating, trying to get money shots for television. And
Oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
yeah, and they all get killed by the spooky lady.
Yeah.
Because of course they do. and
Makes sense.
you manage to evade her. And there's actually there's a really interesting point here. This part of the game is when you enter the church, you get flashed with a big title screen that says "Confess your sins," and in the church there is of course a confessional booth that you can enter, and the guy inside is not like an actual like priest guy. It's some kind of demon.
What do
Um,
you mean?
Pretending to be a priest.
Isn't a normal
You do have
person
to.
just like you?
It's not Gary.
I know it's not.
You do go in there. You do have to go in there in order to progress through the church, and you go across. You go through the church. You solve a brief little puzzle, um, and you exit. Here we are after that. There's a few things that happen in here. Um, I don't immediately recall any rotoscope sections that particularly caught my eye in the church, but I also might have blocked them out of my memory because I would like to sleep at some point in the rest of the week.
No,
So that's
not
fully
allowed.
possible.
It's spooky week
Please,
time.
please, I love sleeping so much. I
Super
don't
duper
like.
spook time.
Uh,
Rotoscoping.
Rotoscoping is inherently fucking spooky to me. Okay, it already looks weird and off-putting.
Not to mention it's a nightmare to actually fucking do.
Yeah. You get out into the woods. You go around. You find a letter that is, first of all, just a newspaper clipping about like some killings that happened recently.
Oh.
You find the letter amongst three bodies, and it's describing the killing of these three teenagers who are presumably these three corpses. And as you read the letter, the music dramatically changes at a few points in time when you get to certain points of the letter. As if it knows where you are in the letter, which it does. That's not the most difficult thing to put in the game. After the letter gets progressively more and more unhinged, and it starts talking directly to you about how you're the one who killed these boys. It's your fault they're dead. You did it. You wanted them dead because they were degenerates in society. Isn't this what you want, John? Don't you want this to happen?
Well, I don't know. They do kind of look like little shits, I guess.
You finish the letter. You exit from the letter. The letter ends in purple text in the same color that Amy's sprite in the last game was, saying, "I'm here, John." And you exit the letter, and there is the three bodies that the letter was around are now standing. They did not have heads. There is fire where their heads were. There's several more corpses around, and Amy is standing just above you, and you get transformed into a demon. You get briefly possessed.
Ow.
You wander around a little bit while possessed. There's some fuck-ass screen effects happening. This before you get possessed, or you're getting possessed, is one of my, I think my absolute favorite rotoscope in the entire second game, where you are, you melt. It's, I don't know how else to describe it. It's fucking terrifying. Your hands melt first, and you see John just like clutching at himself with these skeletal hands, and then he looks up to the sky and screams in pain as like the entire top half of his body melts away, and you become a very Michael-looking demon.
I am the Mickle.
Skitter scattering around the world, and you well, yeah, you get to an overpass, or you get under an overpass, at which point you manage to fight off the demonic possession. And you then enter the sewers, which is my favorite section of the entire game, because it's just the scariest, because it's the introduction of lighting. You get a flashlight. Get a flashlight at one point in the sewers, and it is awful. First of all, because the game is like rendered in so few colors, the everything, I guess, around you, it's hard to tell when you get the flashlight that you even have the flashlight, because the ground is just empty space. It's just rendered in black pixels. So you pick up the flashlight and it's like, okay, what did this change anything at all? And you walk around with it a little bit and it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. And there are these demons around that you spook off with the flashlight because I think you can still use your crucifix while you have the flashlight, but these ones specifically are just scared of light in general, so you don't have to.
I exercise thee with the power of a AA battery powered flashlight. Begone.
Begone, foul demon.
Begone, foul demons. That's what John sounds like. That's John. Definitely John.
He I don't know. God, I have no idea how to describe the sewer section. There's just a lot of fucked up shit in it. There's a moment where you read Scrawled in Blood on 4 different pillars. It says, when you see it, don't move. And in a few rooms over, another demon pokes its head out from behind a pillar, and you freeze. And the demon approaches you, and a rotoscope section happens where it walks up to you. It does not have arms. A pair of dismembered, bloody, floating hands cover its face, and as it gets near you, this large, bulbous eyeball peers directly out of the screen into your face. And I really can't overstate exactly like how much of the terror of these sections comes from entirely just the fact that they are rotoscoped. Because rotoscoping is already kind of creates a kind of vaguely unnatural looking kind of animation. Since it is, I guess we should probably define rotoscoping for those who don't know. It is when you record live action movements and then you trace and color over them in order to do the animation.
Which, like,
and so that's what makes it really fucking uncanny, especially when everything's traced in one solid color, 2 at most.
Yeah.
And it's quite scribbly.
Yeah, I will say that rotoscoping in the past has been less uncanny because they were trying to use it more to be like an actual reference. But
yeah,
now
there's plenty of ways.
Yeah, now it's more used as a literal like
yeah,
live action to animation.
Yeah,
it's more direct now than it was before, where it was used as like a thing to make like Snow White. I think technically was. Snow White was rotoscoped, and that's not uncanny. It does have a spooky section in it, but the animation itself is not uncanny.
No, I wouldn't say the animation in Snow White or anything.
Yeah, no. But yeah, so
uncanny.
Rotoscoping isn't always scary, but it can.
But it's very easy to make it scary.
It's easy to make it scary, and in this game specifically, it's just horrific.
You manage to get through the sewer section. You start approaching the big demon of this area, who is, I don't remember her name. Unfortunately. She is a nun, or at least something in the shape of a nun. Because she's actually a demon, and she also does not have a face. Like Amy did not have a face in the first game. It's just a big gaping bloody hole where her face should be. But she does wear a human face mask at least, so that is. You don't have to look at the bloody gaping hole the entire time you're dealing with her, and while you're in the hallway to deal with her, a demon approaches from behind you. Suddenly, you don't have the reaction time to turn around and face it, and from behind you is Father Garcia with his own crucifix. He manages to blow away the demon in spectacular fashion by holding the crucifix at it in the same way that you do.
Except he does it better because he's cooler.
Sure. And he helps you out in the final boss fight. In order to get the best ending in the game, the golden ending, you have to defend Father Garcia from an onset of other lesser demons while he is chanting I believe it was the 91st Psalm, in order to exorcise the thing in the shape of a nun. And that's essentially the bulk of the second game. You wake up after that dream, and you receive a letter from real world Father Garcia telling you about the cult of the Second Death, and how they are the profane Sabbath is approaching, and that he needs your help to deal with it. Um, that's the second game. The second game also has two other endings. Um,
Ooh.
one of them is a significantly less hopeful ending where John probably dies again. That is
Probably.
uh, that is where you do not manage to protect Father Garcia for the duration of the final boss fight, and but you still manage to repel the thing in the shape of the nun. And I believe at the end of the game, John gets in his car and starts driving somewhere, and there is a man in red behind him who is presumably Gary, because Gary's very much the color red uh, in when we see him in the third game.
Mm-hmm.
And also other things that the Gary has left some notes in John's streams, and they are also written entirely in red text. So that
Did they
you
did
know,
they send off with Gary loves you, or is it, or is
no,
that only in the third one?
that's in the third one.
Okay.
The catchphrase is Gary loves you, and Gary's a normal human like you and me. Is things in the third game. Spoiler: Gary probably does not love you, and also is not a normal human like you and me.
Disagree.
Peter over here hitting the X button.
Wow, Peter.
What else am I contributing? If not funny one-liners and occasional actual contributions.
You could contribute your life and soul to Gary who loves you.
Now, if you really believe that Gary loved you, you feed him.
No.
Feed him, boys.
Rattle him, boys!
He doesn't love Gary.
Therefore, Gary does not love him. Get his ass.
Sick him!
The third ending. I think there's actually technically a fourth ending. I don't quite know. It might be in the third game that this other thing is explored. I don't know.
Here, I'll consult the Lord Google.
I know for sure that there is a third ending, and you get the third ending by doing some really seemingly random actions. First of all, when you get the when you get the key by having your reflection stab you in the face, um, you are bleeding on the ground for a while, and if you use that blood to draw a pentagram, an upside down pentagram, you get, well, I guess pentagram is by its nature. That's the pentacle is the. I'm sorry, I'm confusing my occultist terminology.
The demon thingy. The
The
circle.
upside down star.
The upside down star.
You unlock one way to get to the ending. You do that with the blood driplets on the floor, and you get one of three things to get the ending. The next thing you have to do is so when you're in the confessional, the guy in the confessional, the thing that obviously marks the guy in the confessional as a demon and not like a priest or anything, is the fact that at the when you finish talking with him, he says in the demonic way that all the demons in the game speak. Bring me the child, and your sins will be forgiven.
Oh.
There's a kid that you can find somewhere in the church, I think, and you can just bring the kid to him. He will kill the kid, I think. That's pretty clear. Kill and eat the child. And then he will that unlocks the second way to the ending. And the third thing that you have to do all three of these things.
Mhm.
The third one is while you are transformed into a demon, and you go under the overpass, there are two random bystanders on the overpass, you have to kill them. And this will unlock the ability to access a room later in the game that you can only go into if you do those three specific things. They're all marked with different symbols. One of them is the pentagram. The other one is the I think it's just the image of a kid, and then the third one is your little horrific monster form. Um, and so that's like the little hints of the actions you have to do to unlock it, and so it's not very obviously like an Easter egg ending you're supposed to get on the second playthrough. Um, because these are fucking obtuse ass actions you would not do your first time playing the game,
Yeah.
probably.
But now that I know this, I can do it on the first try.
You don't get anything special for doing it on the first try.
Damn. Rude of
Uh,
them.
uh, sure, I guess. You do all three of these things, and you get a special ending where you get recruited into Gary's cult
Oh,
at the end of the game,
well.
and you become the host of the unfathomable demon.
Ah.
This is obviously a non-canon ending because there's a third game, and you continue to play as John fighting against demons.
Yeah. And I will say I've consulted the Lord Google, and it hath told me that there are only 3 endings in the second game, so there is not a fourth one.
Okay. So the weird ending that I'm thinking of, where you go into the room filled with crucifixes, is the third one, I suppose.
Yes. I just realized there's a faith wiki, and this makes my life easier.
That's the third game, or the second game rather, and it is. I actually like the second game the most, because it is, I think, the scariest of the three. The third one has a few. Third one has it does have more jump scary elements, which I don't think detract from the game. I think that works for the kind of game that the third one is, because as the Faith series goes on, you get more and more kind of exploratoriness. The first game is very linear. You have to do things in a specific order, and it only opens up at the very end, where you get one of 5 different endings by shooting or not shooting certain things or people.
Shoot the deer.
Don't shoot the deer.
There is 0 consequence to shooting.
You want to get the absurdist ending of the fucking game? Shoot the deer.
Yes. This is my favorite ending.
In the second game, you get a bit more freedom. You can choose to kill or exercise the first 3 demons that you encounter in any particular order. You can you explore various areas a lot more. There's a bit of backtracking involved here or there. The third one is significantly more open. It's the most open of the 3, and so I think the kind of jarring loudness of it works a lot better there than it would in the first 2, which are more like secluded experiences. With that said, I still prefer the second one at the end of the day. I like the third one fine. I just like the second one more.
It seems like the second one is like a good balance between 1 and 3 in terms of gameplay. From what you're describing, the playthroughs I watched were a while ago. I'm a bit fuzzy on the details of specific gameplay implements. But yeah,
it's a lot of hitting spacebar.
Space.
If I recall correctly, crucifix is bound to spacebar.
Oh,
and you
wait.
use ways to walk. So
wait, Faith is an open world visual novel?
Always has been.
Yeah, and all the lines are read by this grating text-to-speech machine.
Actually, the more I think about it, the more that's just true.
Yeah. It is.
The third one is, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, you know? Yeah.
We've made a discovery, ladies and gentlemen.
Members of the jury.
Members of the Vatican.
Members of
we,
the
we have
Vatican.
made a discovery. So chapter
Yeah, I like
3.
the second game.
Okay.
I like the second game a lot. Don't worry about
Yeah, the second
Chapter
game.
3.
Woo.
Yeah, the second game.
Woo!
I'm staring at the clock.
Need more time. All right.
The third game is the conclusion.
Oh,
Believe it or not. I know, right? Believe it or not, the game ends.
the game
with-
ends.
The game ends. The game series ends. First of all, yeah, believe it or not, Faith is a series that ends.
If FNAF has taught me one thing, you can't let it
It's
end.
never true.
That has taught me one thing. The horror franchises never end.
Yeah, so Faith just has to keep going forever and ever and ever and ever.
John and Father Garcia go to various places in a city to prevent the end of the world, basically.
Awesome.
It's the entire deal of what they do there, and they're pretty good at it, you know, I gotta say.
Especially Father Garcia.
Especially Father Garcia.
Especially Father Garcia. Can you tell who's my favorite? Can you tell?
Of the very limited cast in the game.
Can you tell who's my favorite?
Cole, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I want your entirely honest response.
Don't worry, it's hard for me to be anything but blunt.
Just giving it a cursory review in my head. The 3 Faith games can be corresponded to the first 3 JoJo parts. True or false?
Well, hang on, I have to draw many narrative parallels really quickly.
What?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Sorry, there's too many. There are too many dissimilarities between parts JoJo parts 1 and 2, and Faith parts 1 and 2. I would say the entirety of the Faith Trinity is actually more akin to I don't know, the second half of part 3.
The Bible.
I don't
Yeah.
know what the Bible has to do with this
The
game.
Faith trilogy is actually the long-awaited sequel to the critically acclaimed Dante's Inferno. In the sense that they're both Bible fanfics.
You're not wrong.
People have been wanting this one for a while.
Oh, Dante, come on, man.
Dante Alighieri, everybody. He's back.
He came back from the dead as a demon and made this game.
And
The
he
Faith trilogy is
renamed
actually an
himself
autobiography of Dante Alighieri.
in order to for the series to be as accurate as possible. He did, however, have to rename himself Gary.
Ah.
And they go around. I honestly don't immediately recall most of third game either, because I had to watch it at 1.5 speed in order to
Here on time.
get here as on time as I could.
Which was not very, but it's okay.
That wasn't very. I had other things to do.
It's valid. It's fine. It's fine. Let's see how
Oh,
much.
it's only 40 minutes late.
Let's see how much I remember. And okay.
Always go to the wiki and give just like a slightly less accurate retelling of it.
Hold on. Okay, let me go to the wiki. Okay. Okay. All right.
There's
Plot.
some key moments from it that I
TBA.
recall. To be added?
Yeah.
Was the wiki last updated back when part 3 was still just a fucking demo? Like,
Where, I don't. Where do I check that? It has the endings. The fuck?
Huh.
Hey, Faith Wiki, get your shit together. I I need a plot to read, man.
I know you're watching. I
We
know you're there.
We know you're there. We know you're there. And we just want to let you know that Gary loves you.
But we don't
Actually,
until you
so
add the
normal-
plot twist enough.
But we're not Gary, so add that shit.
So we're not Gary, so eat shit.
All right. Time to use the power of my own brain. If I can remember. Yeah. So
I can remember a few key moments from it, but
yeah.
not
So okay.
not as in detail as I did the first and second games.
Okay. So
So go over the key moments with Elena.
Yeah. Okay. So
Go through various parts of the city. I do remember there are 2 different blackout sections instead of just one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Actually.
you have to, in order to get the golden ending, you have to exercise like 3 different major demons. One of them is Malphas, who is teased at the end of the second game. You exercise a demon from Gary's lover, prior lover, I think.
She seemed more deranged than.
Yeah, she's absolutely deranged and extremely devoted to Gary. You do still have to get the demon out of her for the golden.
I know. I'm just like, I don't know if that's a lover or if it's more of a you've taken the Gary loves you too far.
Yeah,
lover
she
/ fanatic.
Yeah, she definitely loves Gary in a much more romantic way than most of the other devotees do.
Yeah.
There's a third one. I forget what's up with the third one. At the end,
the theme of this section of the video.
Yeah, I guess forgetting threes. Yeah. You then fight. If you get all 3 of them, you do manage to fully fight Gary, who is using the. It is also in this game that it's like fully revealed that the cult of second death is using the way that they operate. What second death is when you carve a big ass hole in your face and you throw newborn babies in there. In order to form a portal to hell until a demon comes out of your face. And you can either do this voluntarily or it can be done to you. And it was done to Amy in the first game. And she is the vessel for a demon called the Unfathomable?
The unspeakable.
The Unspeakable. Yes.
Yeah.
And so Gary has Amy's body with the unspeakable demon in it, and he's trying to I don't believe this term is used in the game, but I'm gonna call it some kind of hellmouth. In order to bring the unspeakable into the world so that it can do unspeakable things. And
Such as?
I can't speak them.
Why not?
They're hard to pronounce.
They're unspeakable. Yeah, they're unspeakable.
All right, fair enough.
And in the golden ending, you manage to repel this from happening. You fight Gary with the power of crucifix and also a shotgun, and also temporary. It's being able to take the ability to take more than 1 hit of damage, a power given to you by literal God himself.
I knew he'd make a cameo.
We'll defeat you with the power of God and the shotgun I found.
When you manage to beat back Gary, the unspeakable calls him just says failure, reaches out of Amy's face, and yoinks him into hell. And the portal closes. Amy's spirit thanks John for finally being able to free her after all this time.
Finally. Took me so long.
And if you get like the golden of golden endings, then you get a choice of John can settle down with Lisa, a character named Lisa, and have a normal life from this point onwards, or he can go with Father Garcia to continue to hunt the forces of unspeakable evil across the world.
Well, of fucking course I'm gonna choose Garcia. What the?
It's worth noting that neither one of those two endings are more canon than the other. It is canon that you get to make the decision, but which choice between the two is like neither one of those are more canon than the other. But like the golden ending is, as usual, the canon one.
I see no other alternative. You gotta go with Father Garcia. What else would you do? I mean,
I don't know, if I had spent the past like year and a half of my life fighting literal demons all of the time, having dreamed where my eye gets stabbed out, getting transformed into a demon in that dream, getting possessed again, but in real life this time.
but hear me out now. You get to be with Father Garcia.
I don't think that really outweighs the benefits of just like having
it sounds awesome.
being able to live in peace for a while.
You know, personally, I think canon, like the more canon route would be settling down with Lisa, entirely because they're not making a Faith 4.
Not as far as me, no. Wink, wink.
Wink, wonk.
No, I don't think they will make
Faith
a
movie.
I like where they left it. I hope
Faith movie.
Faith movie.
I hope they don't make a fourth
Faith
game
book series
because I like where they left it.
Let's make a whole book series.
A movie would be really cool though, but I don't think you would be able to capture the horror unless the entire movie was rotoscoped.
In which that would be awesome.
That would be horrifying.
That would be amazing. Hollywood, I know you're watching this.
No,
yeah.
But Hollywood's not gonna do that. Hollywood barely does 2D animation ever anymore.
Indie films, I know you're watching.
You know who is watching? Most favorite game director, David Cage.
All right. So we've recapped the Faith.
I know. The ending of one of the third one. One of the endings of the third one. The third one that I do really like is if you manage to spectacularly fuck up everything. Like if Father Garcia dies, you don't fight the 3 extra bosses you have to in order to get the golden ending, because those 3 bosses are extra bosses. They're hidden. You have to go find them. Like if you manage to spectacularly fuck up the entire time, like Father Garcia dies, Lisa dies, you don't fight those 3 dudes, you get the worst ending, which is at the end of the second game when John wakes up from his horror nap. You walk past a room that is the door and the walls nearby are like completely covered in crucifixes. You walk up to it and John just says, "I will not go in there."
I will not go okay, yeah.
And in the third game, if you manage to spectacularly fuck up everything, you can go in there, where you find Amy waiting for you. And then John becomes the new host of the unspeakable demon and brings it into the world.
Oopsie.
Sorry, guys. I got too depressed and ended up destroying the universe.
Valid reason.
What? So Amy's just in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just had Amy in there the whole time.
It's not. It doesn't seem to be uncommon practice for the kinds of priests to do it, because remember at the start of the second game, you see Father Garcia with Michael Demon chained up in his basement.
True.
So like, keeping a person around that they're actively trying to exorcise seems like a pretty common practice for the fictional priests.
Yeah, which makes it a lot less creepy when you know those people are actually possessed.
Yeah.
In reality, that would be jail really quickly.
That's a super crime.
In reality, they're often not possessed, and also often minors.
Yeah.
See, the thing about Michael is that he is a child.
Amy is 17.
Amy is 17, which is also still a
Technically a
minor.
minor, yeah.
Yeah, but that's still above the age bracket of real life event.
Most priests.
Yeah.
But
Woo.
these are possessed children that they're
These are-
trying to exorcise. There is nothing more fucked up happening in these events other than demonic possession.
Yes.
Take your word for it.
Thankfully.
I don't trust any priest, including the ones I play as.
including the narrator of the games. I don't,
just you boot
Look,
up.
any narrator of any media is going to end up having
Yeah.
the the retelling of the story be from their viewpoint, which may not entirely be accurate.
Like
Case in point, the entire second game.
I mean, the entire second game isn't accurate because it's a dream, and I would understand that prerogative in the first game where John's sanity is brought into question a lot of times. By the time you get to the third one, it's like pretty firmly. I have the hiccups.
Uh-oh.
It's pretty firmly established that this is what
Do you need a
I'm
minute?
possessed.
Dude.
It's pretty
Now you gotta
firmly
carve a hole in your
established.
face and put babies in there.
Yeah, hold on. Cole's possessed, guys. Hold on. We gotta find John.
We gotta complete the cycle.
Father Garcia! Get your shotgun!
It's pretty firmly established that all this stuff is real by the time of the third game. So, it becomes a more reliable narrator as time goes on.
I just imagine Peter boots up Faith, starts the game, he enters the world as John, and she just looks at him like, I don't trust me.
He wouldn't either.
You're not wrong. Oh my god.
I don't trust
I
me.
don't trust me.
Opens game, immediately distrusts the protagonist, closes game, and never opens it again.
Nope. Can't trust him. Can't play it. Can't do it. Oh my gosh. Alright. So now that we've recapped the Trinity.
Trinity, the unholy Trinity.
Yes. Let's discuss a bit more broadly now how the elements of Christianity and hell and demons and all this stuff are tied so well together to make such a spooky game. If we can do that.
In broader terms, it would be just how to make Christian horror good.
Yeah, which
I
I remember
do The
many
Exorcist.
examples. Yeah.
Obviously, that's the The Exorcist.
That is the classic example. What makes The Exorcist good?
What makes
I have
The
not seen
Exorcist
it. I don't plan to.
What makes The Exorcist good is the fact that it is ostensibly using using demonic possession as an allegory for puberty. Listen, as a bunch of people who have been through puberty, I mean, I feel about a specific way about my puberty for reasons. Actually, I doubt my experience is the usual one.
Probably not.
It was profoundly disgusting, and I hated every minute of it.
Mine was fine. Once a month it sucks. But otherwise,
Par for the course.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really have that many problems with my puberty. Then again, I made a lot of my discoveries about myself when I was 18. So by the time all the fuckery occurred, the puberty had kind of passed by then.
Yeah, my puberty was mostly uneventful, aside from the fact that I became horribly, horribly depressed.
Oh.
And just stuck around for the next 7 years.
The next ever since.
Yeah, that.
Oh. I stopped growing as much. That was my one problem.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that makes The Exorcist pretty good. Is the allegory of it all. But that's also just the fact that like The Exorcist is. This isn't something that applies to Faith, I suppose, because The Exorcist is also just gross. Lots of gross shit happens in The Exorcist.
I don't know, man. Hand coming out of face hole is pretty gross.
Yeah, it is. It's not gross in the way that I'm thinking of it, because I'm thinking of the famous scene in The Exorcist where Reagan's head spins around and she vomits over the entire fucking room.
Oh. Different type of gross. I understand.
There's a bunch of slime stuff happening. I would describe Faith as being more gruesome than gross.
Less gross, more gore.
Well, gore is gross, but it's
gore is gross, but it's not because of how Faith is animated and styled. It's not going to end up being nearly as gross.
It is, yeah. It's not like vividly disgusting. It's not.
And I feel like that helps Faith a lot as a sellable game, because I don't know about you, but if it was like realistic hand coming out of face, I feel like a lot of people would not continue playing.
No.
It'd be like, Annabelle.
Yeah, it's that medium that gives it the opportunity to be as terrifying as possible.
Yeah.
The rotoscope hand is far scarier than a realistic one. A realistic one would just be disgusting.
Yeah.
What if it's a rotoscoped hand coming out of a real face?
Ooh.
What about them apples?
You know, I think that's something I'd have to see to judge, and I do not know where I would find that.
Rotoscope it yourself. Give yourself trauma. Or trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the style of the game, it's also good to note that a lot of times, people's imaginations can be a lot more terrifying than whatever a director or a screenwriter can come up with. So rotoscoping a lot of those, so the rotoscope scenes and them being all pixelated leaves a lot to the imagination.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like all of the detailing on everything. Like some things have like a little too much detail than you'd expect, and that lends to like an uncanny feeling around them. And other things have too little detail, and so your mind fills the gaps in. Like the scene where the hand bursts out of the face is very much like there's not a lot of detail there. It's just purple figure, very much looking like the girl out of The Ring, the hair covering her face, and then she leans back and you see that she has no face. It's just a red hole, and everything else about her is covered in purple, and then a red hand combusts out of her face.
Yeah. And then the one of the endings in the first game, where the murderer ending, the note it shows at the ending, it says that the police found her body, and it is like, oh yes, her face is horrifyingly mutilated.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's like, oh, it's not just a hole.
Yeah.
Oh.
Her face is horrifyingly mutilated. It describes that she had injuries from being thrown out of a second-story window, which she jumped out of the second-story window. But I'm not the cops, I guess.
You are not the cops.
It's very much worth noting as well that Michael is when pops up on screen, he will possibly cuss you out in Spanish.
He's a silly little guy.
He's a silly little guy.
When you in the opening section with him in the second game, as he leaves the house, he says, "You know nothing, pendejo," and then leaves.
You know nothing, pendejo.
He's a silly little guy.
He's a silly little
He's a silly little guy.
He's too silly for his own good.
That's what this episode should be. That's what this episode should be titled. Faith, the silly little guy.
Faith, the unholy trinity of silly dudes.
Faith, the unholy trinity of unbridled whimsy.
I'll consider it. Yeah, kind of going into other media that somewhat relates to religion and spooky. I remember as a kid, there were so many like werewolf vampire movies that had at least one scene with a church.
Churches are really important to both werewolf and vampire.
Yeah, which is like, that's fair, but like a lot of times it would either like that, like, the church would hold up the cross and it wouldn't do anything.
Yeah, a lot of those films are also have like some action elements to them, and so if the problem could be solved by a crucifix,
yeah,
you wouldn't have the rest of the movie.
In Faith, you can deal with the problem with the crucifix and the shotgun, so explain that to me, Cole.
Faith is better written than
want
pulpy
both.
movies.
I want both.
I think it's really just a matter of John's built different. He has a crucifix, signed by God.
The crucifix is signed by God.
Wow. Damn.
See, at the in the third game, you do get like a flashback of what exactly happened during the initial failed exorcism of Amy.
Yeah.
And we see how John managed to live was by running out of the house, and a seemingly divine figure approaches him, which seems to be God. And he is like, I know I am a coward, but I really just want to live, dude. And he's like, yeah, all right. Go for it. Get the fuck out of here, coward.
Yeah, get out of here, you little loser. You're gonna have a guilty conscience for the rest of existence. Nerd.
I'll let you live for now. You'll come back. They always come back.
There is an idea that this figure that he sees that lets him escape isn't God, but is actually Satan.
Yeah.
Who is deceiving him into not continuing the exorcism so that the unspeakable can be brought into the world. The unspeakable is still not brought into the world at the end of the day, but he tried his best.
Yeah.
That's really all that mattered.
Satan's just sitting in his throne and howling, oh man.
I worked really hard on that.
I made myself look like a cool god visage for nothing. God damn it.
I invoked the name of my mortal enemy for that.
Immortal enemy.
I invoked the name of my immortal enemy, Dad. For that.
I invoked my dad for this shit.
Yeah.
Dad, you suck.
Unbelievable.
This is all my dad's fault.
I think a part of the reason why a lot of particularly like religious themed horror kind of has fallen flat as a lot of time has gone on is really just because they don't. I mean, first of all, there's just the general symptom of a lot of horror relying on a more and more and more, especially like in movies and things, relying a lot more on a variety of cheaper scares.
Jump scare.
Mhm.
Jump scare.
Which, as a coward, that does still terrify me for the rest of the day. But I imagine for most people, that's less effective.
It bores the hell out of me. Every horror movie I've watched so far, which is not a lot, but everyone I've seen so far, which is a good random hosh posh, I've just sat there and then the credits happened and I'm like, that's it? That's all you had? Okay. I'm gonna go back to what I was doing now. But yeah, the ones with Christian elements especially, I'm just like, come on! Do something! They don't do it. But Faith does. Faith does do it, because it's good. Therefore, I
There
like
are
it.
there's two kinds of horror with Christian elements. One is like horror that uses like the background of Christianity to try and augment the horror of like our faith-based things aren't working. We have to resort to a more convoluted method.
Shotguns.
Which really could just be solved with guns.
Yeah.
There's no less convoluted solution than gun. Or there's no there's no less convoluted solution than gun.
As a pure-blooded American, I feel like the solution can always
I
be
approve
guns.
this message. as a pure-blooded American and founder of religion by being American, I approve this message.
And then the second thing is, of course, Christian horror, which doesn't land with a lot of people who aren't like super really into Christianity.
Yeah, particularly familiar with Christian mythology beyond, Jesus Christ being a guy who existed.
Jeebus.
Yeah, because there's a particular brand of Christian horror that is just fear mongering about going to hell.
Which
and
gets
that's
predominantly more and more prevalent the further south you go.
the Bible Belt has its own unique problems. And that's kind of unfortunately does cheapen the horror for anyone who's not in that audience.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Which tells me that Faith did an even better job, because I'm an atheist, and even I found it a little spooky. They did a good job.
Well, it doesn't necessarily. It's less about Faith is less traditional Christian horror and more, horror with obviously Christian overtones.
Yeah, which is probably the best way to do that in order to garner the biggest audience.
Yeah.
Because you can be like, just add a little bit of Christianity and a whole lot of demons. Y'all know about demons. So many demons.
Y'all know demons, right? These are
pentagrams.
If you don't know demons beforehand, you're gonna now.
Oh, you're about to. Are you afraid of demons?
I'm gonna learn you some demons.
I'm gonna learn you some demons. First, we have the unspeakable. That's all I can say about that.
And we have Malphas, Crow guy.
Yeah. We have Michael.
Not to be confused with Michael the Angel.
Oh, yes, of course.
Michael is a real chupacabra looking ass motherfucker.
But he's also a silly little guy.
I have the body of a pig. It's one of the things he says.
I think he actually has the body of a person at first.
Yeah, but by the time he's saying that he has the body of a pig, his body's a lot less human-like, and also has rickets.
It's not exactly pig-like either.
No, he's fucking possessed. You expect what he says to make any kind of sense?
I don't know.
When he's not like taunting.
I hold Michael to a higher standard, okay?
I mean, some of what Michael says makes sense, but only when he's like actively talking to Father Garcia. A lot of the rest of it is just like ramblings. When you do the little Michael section in the beginning of the second game, he's active. The demon in Michael is actively taunting Garcia by like pretending to be Michael and being like, "I want to go home. I want to see my mommy and daddy." Uh, and then when Garcia refuses to let up, it's like, "I will eat you alive, priest."
Garcia over here like, little kiddo, you want to go see your family? No.
Too bad.
Too bad.
All right, old man, I tried this the easy way.
Your Jedi tricks won't work on me.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't think Michael counts as a Jedi.
I don't know.
He can't use the Force. That's what my entire argument hinges on.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He can't use the Force. Actually, that is true.
So, but he can go really fast. Does that make him Sonic?
You know, if you want him to be Sonic,
I don't, but like.
Well, he's not blue, so I'm gonna say no to that as well.
Silver.
Can either confirm or deny.
I don't want to. I like Silver.
Do we have anything else we want to discuss about the faith or the religious horror or this or any other spooky?
I think one last note about religious horror is that the best way to make it work is to pull on a lot of the much older things about whatever religion they are referring to, especially if it's a religion that's persisted into modern days. Like Christianity is the example. Pull from like old Roman Catholicism shit.
Oh.
A lot of stuff in like the Latin in faith is very, very accurate.
Oh yeah.
For example, like there's a lot of Latin in faith, and a lot of it's really on point. And there's just like a lot of like little references to kind of older Catholic practices that are slipped in there. So it's very much like doing religious horror good. I think, at least as far as Christianity goes, is very much a matter of pulling from the much older parts of it instead of the
You
things
need to understand the source material.
Yeah, essentially. You need to go back a few thousand years instead of just in the past 200.
Yeah, which is valid for most media. Like you need to know the source.
Need to go back.
Material.
No, need to go back 4,000 years.
No, he's just like you need to know like
4,000.
Sorry, you said a few thousand, and my brain immediately was like, "Yeah, that's close enough sounding."
Yeah, but I mean like to know the source material, especially if you're referencing off of something, such as a religion or even just another piece of media, is always a good idea.
Understand what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Hollywood. The whole fucking thing. I know you're watching this right now.
Big cinematic adaptations of prior works that exist definitely don't spit on the original fan bases of things very frequently. I have no idea what you're talking about.
One thing I like about Faith is that it had the decency to end.
Yeah.
Which a lot of horror franchises don't do, actually.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
A completely separate but related diatribe about media. I fucking love it when stories end.
Yeah. Well, like a lot of horror movies that came out in like the 80s, you know, like the first movie was great, that went great, and then they'd come out with a sequel that was like, it's not as great, but it's okay, and then they'd come out with a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth, and then about like the 11th one they'd give up.
They're still making like Saw movies, Halloween movies.
Oh yeah, and
the
now
other one.
now they're rebooting them. Now they're rebooting them, so they don't
Yeah,
have to go like
exactly.
It 13. Hey, listen, if you guys got really annoyed by that FNAF thing in the extended cut, you can watch the not extended cut on the ending card. But if you watch the normal one and you want to know what we said in the FNAF tangent, then go watch the extended cut. I love giving people options.
To choose your own adventure.
Yeah, do you want to sit here for an hour and a half, or do you want to sit here for 2 hours? The choice is yours. All right. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah, I think that wraps up this episode.
Yeah, I think that this has been fun, but Peter, you know what to do now.
I've already demonetized this by saying KKK. I don't know what else you want from me.
I can cut it out. It's the end off soundboard.
Yeah, I know.
The thing you do at the end 2 times now. 3rd time. Ooh, if you don't subscribe, you'll be really, really haunted. Ooh.